Hello, everyone. And today we want to share our experience with tanning a animal hide. In this case, we did a deer hide. It is a nice, beautiful hide and with the fur intact. And yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, then it's super easy to do. And yeah, just watch this video and we'll show you how it's done. Hey everyone, so today we want to go through a step-by-step process of how we tanned our deer hide. We did a lot of research on this. This was our first one. There are different ways to do it. The way we chose happened to work best with the equipment we have and our budget. So what you're going to need for this project is some wood, whether it's some old tree branches or some 2x4s or some old pallet wood. You're going to need to build a frame, so you'll need some wood to do that. Second, you'll need to get a hold of a pressure cleaner or a fleshing knife. We used a pressure cleaner. Fleshing knife can be an actual fleshing knife or any kind of a blade that you can hold that has a sharp edge that you can remove the flesh from the back side of this hide. You'll need to get your hands on some borax, which is just a detergent, and you can source that generally at your local box stores or grocery store or even on Amazon. Even for your larger hides, you'll only need about one decent sized box of borax. So the next component you'll need is aluminum sulfite. And you'll need, for a hide this size, we went through about 2 pounds. So they sell it where we bought it on Amazon in 1 pound bags. I'm sure you can source it in larger bags, but it worked really good with the borax. So track some of that down. Finally, you're going to want to maybe get some rubber gloves to apply these products and chemicals. And you're going to need some neat's foot oil or some kind of a tanning oil to put on the hide after you're done with all the processes. We sourced neat's foot oil on Amazon. Happens to be the place to find anything you can't find in your local store. So if you can't find it at your local hardware store, go ahead and get on Amazon. All right, so step one is you're going to need to build a frame. I've got other stuff to do, so I'm going to do a quick one. You can get fancy with these things. Basically, I just took a few sticks, some good sturdy branches off of an ash tree that fell in the back of the property there, and you want to get them 5-6 feet, depending on the size of your pelt. We just have a small pelt, so I'm going to go ahead and get this fashioned together. I'm probably just going to use some screws I got laying around, cinch this together on the corners, and then I'll just do some side bracing for it, and that should be sturdy enough for the pelt we've got. You can use cordage to connect your things. Some guys will notch and use cordage. Use whatever you got laying around. And yeah, I'll go ahead and get this thing thrown together, show you the finished product. Here we've got it. It's not the prettiest thing. I'm going to put a couple more screws in it probably just to firm it up a bit more, but yeah. 2 is going to be defleshing and washing your hide. Okay, I got my hide and I'm going to get it pressure cleaned here quick and get it washed so we can start the tanning process. I'm going to tack it onto this board. A lot of this is all going to get trimmed off anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and tack it on here so while I'm pressure cleaning, it's not flapping around on me. And then yeah, we'll go ahead and get it washed afterwards. Yeah, you don't want to have it on the ground and getting dirty, so we're going to try and keep it as clean as we can. And this one's not going to cooperate with me. Just go into the front here. I didn't have any small nails laying around. You're going to want to use nails if you got nails, or just keep going back and forth until the screw goes in. Otherwise, you'll twist up and grab that fur, and you don't want to do that. So ideally, use some tack nails if you got them laying around. It'd be a lot easier than a screw. So yeah, we're going to get this thing leaned up against something good and strong, and fire up the pressure cleaner. So I want to go ahead and get all this meat and silver skin, everything washed off of here. So I'll just take a quick pause here, and then I'm going to get back into it. This is going to take me a while, so I just want to show you guys. We want to get rid of all this meat and goo and everything else, and be left with this nice white smooth skin. The edges are not as critical if you plan on tying this in a traditional rack and curing it, tanning it, so forth. Then you're going to trim this tiny bit off anyway, so don't worry too much about getting every last little bit. But this is what you want to get left with, this nice white clean flesh. You want to be careful not to puncture through that with the pressure cleaner. Get a good feel, and I'm sure if you're using your own pressure cleaner, you know where it's at, but if you're borrowing one, kind of practice with it and get a feel. Otherwise, you can very quickly start to tear through this flesh with these high-powered pressure cleaners. So when you are cleaning, there might be some heavy areas of meat. You can just get your pocket knife out and go ahead and get a scrape in behind it, and if you can get enough of it on there, you should be able to peel it back from the skin. Otherwise, you will just have to take a sharp knife and keep peeling it back. All right, I got this thing cleaned up. I'm going to pull it off and get it washed. First, I just want to, few tips. First, keep your mouth shut when you're pressure cleaning. You don't want to end up with these bits in your mouth. It's gross. Anyway, look for weak spots. Now, we didn't shoot this one. This deer died of natural causes on the back end of our property here about a year ago. Anyway, if you got bullet holes or weak spots inside the legs is usually where the skin is weakest. Be careful if you're pressure cleaning. You will blow those holes open bigger. Keep washing until you've got all that silver skin and meat gone from the hide, and then you just got this nice smooth white flesh here. If you're going to keep your tail, you'll want to make sure you've got you're going to want to make sure you've got that good and clean. These are a tough spot to get to. But this pinning it down worked pretty well. I don't recommend screws again. I'm going to grab some wide head, like roofing nails. Don't pin them all the way in. Otherwise, it could start to tear through. And you're going to want to be able to pull them back out if you're using a tack nail or something. So don't push them all the way into or you're going to have a heck of a time getting them back out of there. Another reason why I thought the screws might work better. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get this thing pulled and washed now here, and keep on going with the process. Okay, so we got that off of there. Now I'm going to go ahead and give this thing a few rinses. We're going to go ahead and use some Dawn dish soap. It'll help break up a lot of the animal's natural oils, clean them up out of the fur. We are going to keep this thing intact as much as we can. I don't know, maybe we'll turn this into a nice gift for my wife later on. Who knows? Anyway, we're going to go ahead and give this thing a good wash, and then move on with the next step of the tanning. Give it a good warm, not too hot. You don't want the fur to come off or release from the skin, but maybe fill it up with the hose and throw a kettle of hot water in there just to give it a little bit of warm water. And then, get it good and soaked in there. And we're going to do this about 3 times. All right, that's one rinse. This thing was pretty clean. We harvested it when there was still a bunch of snow on the ground, so the fur was pretty clean. And so get it smelling nice and fresh. And I'm going to go ahead and do this a couple more times until this water runs clear. Got it all washed up, rinsed out. Make sure you rinse it good until the soap comes out. And I'm going to let it drip dry here, and we're going to go mix up the solution to rub into the back on the hide, and yeah, go from there. So your fourth step is going to be the drying and preserving of your hide, which is going to be a multiple step process. There's a couple of different ways to salt and cure these hides. You can use just salt, but you need like 10 pounds because you got to do this a couple of times. It's a lot of salt. You can also use alum and borax, fairly cheap ingredients. All right, so we got 200 grams of each, roughly a cup, I think that works out to be of each. It says we're at about 2 cups in here. Now we're just going to add water until it's a bit of a wallpaper paste or glue consistency. You don't want it too watery, but you don't want it too pasty. You want to be able to spread it around nice and evenly. So we'll just keep adding a little bit of water here. And we'll get a nice paste. There you go. As you see, it wasn't very much water at all. Not even half that cup there. We're going to go ahead and punch some holes around and take some baler twine and stretch this thing out nice and even all the way around. Going to hammer a few holes all the way down and around and try and get this thing right on the edge so that when we cut it free, we're losing very little of the hide. And you're just gonna want to go, I don't know, every 6 or 8 inches, whatever looks like it's gonna hold it right. And then as you get it up, you might have to put in a couple extra holes and to get it stretched the way you want to see it stretched. So. All right, we got this thing just about laced up. I'll go ahead and get it stood up afterwards. You can use any kind of string you got laying around. We find that baler twine is stronger than just about anything and works for a lot of different uses. So we're going to go ahead and use it on this. Okay, I am going to try and get this thing somewhat centered and pulled up as close to the top as I can, and then I'm going to go ahead and stand it up and start down each side and pull it and pull to the bottom. Okay, we got all our strings tightened up here. All right, I've got my paste. We're going to spread it out. I do recommend wearing gloves. This mixture is designed to basically draw moisture out of this hide, so it's going to do the same for your skin. And we're just going to get it on here and spread it around, rub it into the hide nice and evenly. Make sure to get it everywhere. All right, we got it good and covered. It's going to start drawing moisture out of that hide, stiffening it up a little bit, and we're going to let it sit for 24 hours, and then we will scrape this off and repeat the process with another mix. And we'll let that sit again, and then we will scrape, and then we should be good to go. All right, here we are the next day. We've still got another 8 or so hours before we'll try to scrape this. But you can see it's starting to dry out a bit. Now, we live in a really cool, damp environment, high humidity. We're hitting like 60, 70% humidity. So we didn't cover this. But I did want to mention, immediately after you put your first coat of paste on, you're going to want to cover it with a plastic bag if you live in a really warm, dry environment. You don't want it to flash cure and suck the moisture out too quickly. So go ahead and get some garbage bags and just cover this. If you got some poly laying around, any kind of plastic cover really, or a tarp, and get it over this whole thing as soon as you put that paste on, and it'll help retain some of that moisture in there and let the salt do its job. Okay, here we are, day 2 of the tanning. We're going to remove the paste that we applied yesterday and reapply another coat of the same mixture of borax and alum, and reapply your plastic after that's done and let sit for another 24 hours. We are on day 3. We're going to go ahead and remove this second treatment. We'll go ahead and repeat the process from last time. We'll get as much of this excess mixture scraped off of here. Should still have a little bit of moisture in it. The bag's on there. Now, what we'll do once we've got all this removed is apply one more solution, and that solution is going to be left off of the, or on the hide rather, for 5 days with the plastic bag off. So we'll want that to dry in completely. All right, final application, rinse and repeat. This is the same 200 of the alum and borax mixed into a paste with a little bit of water. And we're going to spread this around just like we have the other 2 times. And we're going to leave that on for 5 days. Now, if you're looking close, you'll see I've got a little bit of rot around the edges of this thing. We didn't quite get it covered well enough on our first coat. Not a huge deal, and you don't want too much rot going on, but it will get cut off anyway, so I'm not overly concerned about it. So if any of you have ever cured meat before, this is very similar, only we're curing this hide. These high salt concentrations pretty much suck all the moisture right out of the skin here. Now we're just going to go ahead and stand this thing up and let it sit for good 5 days. Now, if after 5 days you still have moisture present on the hide, you're going to want to go ahead and leave it sit for another couple of days. Generally, 5 days in just about any environment should be more than enough. We're going to go ahead and see. We've had a lot of humidity here on our end of the world, so it has taken a while. So we'll give it 5 days, and yeah, we'll catch you up. Here we are, day 5. Our hide is completely dry. If yours is not dry after 5 days, give it another couple of extra days, and then you're going to want to go ahead and remove that final layer of mixture using a combination of scrapers and wire brushes or sandpaper and sanding sponges. First off, I want to thank Jake and Liz for their assistance. I had to go out of town, so they removed the final layer of the salt and alum mixture, and they went ahead and spent some time sanding this hide down. Now you'll see here in the arm areas or leg areas where the hide is much thinner and softer. You'll want to be careful if you continue to sand in these heavier areas where the hide is much thicker to get it softer, that you don't go too far out if you're going to keep these intact for your hide, because as you can see, it does get quite thinner in those areas. All right, so I've got my neat's foot oil. Just gonna get that on there and spread it around with this brush. Work it in there. Get right to the edges. Okay, I got one good coat on there. It's already starting to soak in here, and it's quite soft, so we'll let that set in a bit, and then yeah, we'll just cut it free from the rack. Okay, so I'm going to get this thing trimmed back off the rack. I just wanted to have a look on the fur side here and see how far in I'm going to go to get rid of some of these areas where there's really not much fur. Nice little finished fur, and yeah, that oil, we'll let that oil dry up and she's good to go. Okay, so you got it oiled and it's still a little stiff. If you've got a wooden edge somewhere, fence board or picnic table or whatever, you can just kind of drag it over that edge, kind of break down those fibers a little bit, and it'll soften it up a little bit more. for you. Before you put another coat of that Neat's Foot on there, it'll just kind of break that down a little bit more, make it a little more pliable for you. It depends on how soft you want it. So coming up next in the video is going to be how we removed this hide from the deer. So fair warning if you don't like graphic footage or animals and bloody animals, and you're going to want to go ahead and turn it off now. I'm just going to use this pretty little horse because they share a lot of the same anatomy as a deer, and show kind of what we had to do in order to get to the part where we could peel the hide back. So you're going to want a really sharp knife. You're going to want to make sure you collar the animal all the way around its neck, and you're going to want to come down the insides of each leg to the top of the joint. So you're going to come down from the neck very carefully. Try not to cut too many major arteries or veins. You don't need to go right into the animal. You just want to get up under the skin and cut the skin back. And then when you get to each leg on the inside, you're going to trace down just down the center and into that first joint, and then just cut around each joint, and then continue down to the anus, and you'll continue cutting right down to the tail. And the same thing on the back legs. You'll want to trace down into the back leg to the first joint, and then cut around all the way around that joint. And the same thing on the other legs. If you're looking at the animal, picture it splayed. You're going to want a perfect line down the center and perfect lines down to that first joint on each limb. Once you've got all your cuts made, you're going to want to peel that skin back a bit on the neck. Just cut it back maybe 3 or 4 inches, enough to create a pocket. So you've got your golf ball or a stone. You're going to get that up underneath that neck, and then you're going to take your twine or your rope, whatever you're using, get it cinched around that golf ball or stone, whatever you're using, really good and tight. And then you can proceed to tie it to something. You're going to want to make sure that the animal has been tied off. We tied the animal to the bumper of our truck and used our tractor to create a nice slow draw and a pull. Some guys use quads, some guys use side-by-sides. You just need something that can apply nice, steady, even pressure as you move back away from the animal, and you'll peel that skin right off. So thank you for watching and letting us share this experience with you, as this was our first time, but it was fairly easy. And I was a little bit intimidated at first, but once we got into it, it was super easy, super fun. And now we have this nice, beautiful fur that we can go ahead and choose to do what we want with. You can make throw pillows, whatever you want to do.